So today we are out in the Dahlias. It is November 12th. It is absolutely gorgeous out here in the Dahlia patch unexpectedly today. So we're going to try to start getting our Dahlias out of the ground. You can see if you look behind me, they actually have not been killed yet. We haven't had a killing frost, but it is just time to go. It's time for them to go. So we're going to start digging today, and we're going to bring you through the process of digging, washing, dividing, storing, kind of how we do it here on the farm. When we plant our Dahlias in the spring, we plant them side by side on either side of a drip line. So when it comes to digging time, we basically go through with a digging fork and we go straight down from the foliage into the ground. You want to give yourself enough room that you're not going to stab the tubers that are under the ground. And then you're just going to quickly push the fork down into the soil. And you can usually ply the tuber right out of the ground. Now, so we have pretty clayey soil here, so you're not actually going to see much of the dirt shake off, but we'll rinse it off and show you what it looks like. Once we've got the Dahlias out of the ground, it's time to get the dirt off of them. So we're just going to take our hose, and I'm not going to do it like full force at them. I'm just going to kind of lightly spray them off. Get most of the dirt off of them. Once we've got most of the dirt off of them, we're going to cut the foliage off. So once we get this row all cleaned up, we're going to take them back up to the greenhouse in the crates. We like to do it one variety at a time. That way there's not as much confusion, or really any confusion. Once we get them into storage, we make sure that we have the right variety in the right crate. And we'll head back up to the greenhouse with them. All right, so now that we've got all of this variety dug, we have them all laid out on the benches here in the greenhouse. The fan is going. The goal is to get them dried out a little bit so that we can get them divided and stored. So the tubers have been sitting in the greenhouse now for about 2 days with a big fan going on them. We haven't gotten very cold, and it has been kind of sunny, so they've been getting a little bit more dry than I would otherwise see them get in November in Oregon. But what I'm going to show you now is how I'm going to divide them apart so that I can store them. So I have some different kinds of tubers up here. They're all the same plant, but they kind of all look a little bit different. I'm going to show you how to divide this one right here. So this is one plant that we just dug up. When I planted it this spring, it probably looked more like this. So you can see it has nice healthy eyes all around the edge and lots of little tubers coming off. If you buy Dahlia tubers commercially, you'll often just get a single tuber with eyes on it. And for us, for field production, we like to plant them a little bit bigger. But when we pull them up, you'll see that after we've rinsed them off and they've dried, some of them are just going to pop apart nice and easy. You know, that was pretty easy. That one popped apart pretty nicely. There are a couple of older tubers on here that I'm going to go ahead and trim out, just because we don't need them in there, and they're not very healthy. You can see that there's a little bit of rot, a little bit of dry out down there. I'm just going to cut all of that out so that we don't have to worry about that in the spring or over winter while they're storing. So that's the tuber I'm going to put away. Some of these will be a little bit more challenging when we pop them apart. They'll have a little bit more of a crown going on. Sometimes they don't want to come apart very nicely, so I use a knife. You can use a pry bar. You can use all sorts of stuff. So just get them apart and then trim it up a little bit. Alright, so I just want to show you a little bit more detail of what I'm cutting out. This is the mother tuber on this plant. So this is the one that we planted last year, and then all of these littler tubers grew up out of it. So I just want to get in kind of underneath. You can see when I cut it off that all of these tubers are still attached around the crown, and that one was just underneath. And if I break this open, it's going to be kind of woody, if I can break it open. And just a little bit of rot starting in it. I don't want this to go into my tubers that I'm storing because of that rot and the chance that it could ruin, more than it's going to be worth next spring. So that's one way to do it. This one right here, you can see really clearly where the eyes are going to come out. So right along the collar of the crown, these little eyes right here. So Again, I was referring to the small tubers that you can buy. If you were to buy a tuber like that, or to want to divide your own tubers into those kind, that's what you would do. You would kind of cut the neck off of the main crown. Make sure that you have that eye included. And once those are cut out, you can plant those as a single tuber in the spring with the eye. These tubers are now all ready to go into storage. So the last step is to label them with a little sticky tag. I've also written the name of them on the papers that are down at the bottom of the crate. So we're going to take these and put them into our walk-in, which we keep at about 45 through the winter. Don't worry if you don't have a walk-in. You can find someplace in your living situation that you can store them that's about that temperature, maybe like a root cellar or a basement. You want to keep them from getting too cold, and you want to keep them from getting too warm. So obviously you don't want them to freeze, and you also don't want them to get warm enough that they're going to start to sprout before it's time. We're going to take some wood chips and fill in the crates with them before we store them. We've also used peat moss in the past. I would suggest that you try a couple of different things and see what really works for you. We're going to put them in there. They're going to stay there till the spring, and having divided them now is going to make it so much easier for us to plant them and get a really nice crop out of them next year. Thanks for swinging by the farm. We'll see you next time.